First up is Uruguay against France before Belgium's Red Devils lock horns with Brazil tonight. Molefe joins us now in studio to preview the last 8 in Russia. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's start now with Uruguay, who could be without Edison Cavani when they take on their side that they are up against, that being France. How do you think that'll affect their game plan with him having an injury and obviously not being eligible to play?
I think that's a big blow for Uruguay. He's been their talisman throughout this World Cup, and his connection with Luis Suarez has been critical for them getting to the quarterfinals. And we know in the last 16 he scored 2 goals for them against Portugal, so he was their key man, and the way they link with Luis Suarez has been key, and without him they are definitely going to struggle. And I think for France, they also preparing 2 strategies, apparently, one for if Cavani does play and one for if he doesn't play. But I think they'll be licking their lips if Cavani doesn't play. But at this stage, it looks like at best he might be on the bench for Uruguay. And for them, that definitely is a big loss. That means Luis Suarez now has to step up, and the rest of the team as well.
Well, looking at France, I mean, the stats are definitely in their favor. They've won 4 out of the 5 times they've come to this stage to get into the last 8. What do you make of that? Do you think that, the stat speaks for itself?
I'm not such a great fan of those type of stats, because I believe that the 4 other teams and squads that got to that level, none of the players that are playing now were in those teams. So Didier Deschamps maybe might have, the history, and he might have been in one of those teams like back in '98 and 2002. But it's completely a different set of players that are playing right now, a different set of players that are very exciting. And going forward, I think it's a different France to what you used to have with a guy like Thierry Henry, who could sit in a box and turn and was clever in the way he does that. Now they've got guys like Griezmann and Mbappe who are quick and can play deep and then, kill you on the counter-attack with their speed and skill. So I think put those stats away, look at what this team has done in this World Cup and judge them on that.
Now let's look at the other big game. People saying this is the mini-final.
For me, yeah, it's the final before the final.
I think we said that, hey?
Yeah.
And a lot of people saying whoever wins Brazil in the game of Brazil versus Belgium is probably going to win the whole thing. And let's be honest, Brazil has not disappointed. We expected a class performance from them, and they've given us exactly what we wanted.
And you know what the thing is? I still feel they haven't even gotten out of second gear just yet. We saw how they struggled maybe in the first quarter against Mexico, but I think they were also kind of feeling their way through that team, and they definitely look like the favorites. And you look at what's going to happen today, I think will be like a tactical masterclass. The way those teams are going to be set up will actually decide who is going to go through, because on talent level I think both sides are equally as talented and can take each other on, but how they're going to set up is what's going to be critical, because that midfield battle, if Brazil go with the 4-3-3 they've been playing for the majority of the games, it could be challenging for a Belgian side that have been employing a 3-4-2-1 formation. That would mean that a guy like Lukaku is once again left stranded on his own at the back, and against a defensive unit that's only conceded 1 goal at this World Cup. But Casemiro is not there for Brazil, so that also now provides an opportunity for that quick counter-attack for Belgium that we saw against Japan, and maybe that's the way that they can go on to beat Brazil.
Do you think Neymar's going to try his antics again? Do you think it's even needed in this game?
Oh, Neymar, listen, as I said, that midfield battle is going to be tough for him. So if he puts on those antics, these are not dirty players, the Belgian players, they're quite skilled. A guy like De Bruyne and Eden Hazard are not going to be going in there with hard tackles. So this is going to be skill versus skill, and he definitely needs to stay on his feet in this World Cup. And I hope that, in some way, I know he's had a barrage of tweets and Instagram posts and memes and everything that's been happening against him. I hope he sees that people are not enjoying what he's doing and want to see him play. And what we want to see is, the best players in the world going up against each other and showing their best. And as I said, it's going to be a tactical masterclass, and we want to see Neymar involved in a positive way.
Okay, so shifting to Saturday's game, Sweden against England. Do you think that is somewhat of Sweden being the underdog going up against an experienced team like England?
They've pretty much been the underdogs, and I think they love that tag, and it works for them. But But if there's one thing you need to see about the Sweden side is they work well as a unit. For England, they could be frustrated for long terms in this game, and they're going to have to keep their head. But this is a very exciting England team if you think about it. Guys like Jesse Lingard, it's a different sort of England from what we're used to, where they would kick long balls into the box and hold a guy like Sheringham or Shearer would be there to head it down. These are guys that can now play and knock the ball. They can play between the lines and know how to actually exploit different spaces and creations on the pitch. So I think Gareth Southgate has done well with the players that he's got there. I feel that England might be just a little bit too much for Sweden, but they cannot afford to be complacent, because this Sweden side, if anything, they win as a unit, defend, go and attack as a unit, and it'll be difficult for them to break down.
So looking at Russia and Croatia, I don't know, like as the Russia being the host nation, I'm kind of emotionally waiting for that Hollywood ending where they make it to the final and they go up against Brazil and they win.
And then Vladimir Putin gives them oil and land everywhere in Russia, right?
Something like that.
But, oh man, it's difficult not to see Russia causing an upset against Croatia. Croatia were not as convincing against Denmark, and I think they were a little bit lucky by winning on penalties. And, you know, it's tough to beat a side that's got like a 12th man. The Russian fans are all there supporting the home team and the euphoria within the country, and knowing that if they win, the party continues, right? Tactically, we expect that the Croatian side should be better than the Russians, but the Russians showed you they know how to absorb pressure. They did it against Spain. They can absorb pressure for long times and then attack you. And if you're not solid at the back, then they will catch you there. And I think this is going to be the biggest test for Croatia, for them not to lose their heads, be patient in building up and try to exploit the mistakes that the Russians might make at the back.
OG, so